Welcome to the final year project presentation on Crop Health Monitoring System. This is our team. As you all know that the plant is the main source of our food and the air that we breathe in, therefore it is important to protect the plant. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization also stated that up to 40% of the crops are lost each year due to diseases, leaving millions of people hungry and severely affecting agriculture, which is the major source of income for rural community. UN's General Assembly also declared 2020 as the International Year of Plant Health. Agriculture is the backbone of Bhutan, and its population rely on the farming to satisfy their requirement. According to the 2018 National Account Statistics, agriculture contributed the most to the national economy, followed by the construction industry and then the hydropower. Recently, crop diseases has become a major issue affecting in the productivity of the food products and affecting their economy despite farmers' hard work. As seen in this picture, 80 to 90% of the rice crop are lost to the blast disease. More than 50% of the farmers' harvest was damaged due to the Turcicum leaf blight of maize, and then in 2012, due to the citrus greening, it affected the economy of the farmers and they suffered a major losses. The reason behind such occurrence is because, firstly, traditional method used for detecting crop diseases is naked eye observation by agriculturists, which is not always accurate, involves tedious tasks, agriculture experts are not always available, time-consuming and expensive. Secondly, due to the lack of knowledge and inadequate technical support in effective crop disease detection and control measures, it results in reduced productivity and economic losses. Therefore, our aim is to develop a crop health monitoring system using a suitable deep learning technology to assist the agriculture experts in managing and monitoring the health of a crop. What objectives are we going to achieve? Firstly, to conduct a literature review to select an appropriate AI and machine learning algorithm and tools for development of model. Secondly, build and train the model of the crop health monitoring system that classifies the crop as diseased or healthy. And then finally, to develop a simple web application that will facilitate the trained model for monitoring the crop health. Our scope includes selecting a suitable model to perform multi-class classification of crop health, crop dataset collection, develop a classification model, and then to develop a web application. Moving on to the methodology, we first identified problems in agricultural domain and then selected topic as crop health monitoring system. Then we started doing literature review on related topics and simultaneously started with the documentation. After defining our problem statement, we began data acquisition, which included collecting image data of the specified crops from the open source repository known as Kaggle. As all of the data that we acquire from the online repository were not cleaned as it contained unwanted data, therefore it was pre-processed before we obtained the refined dataset. After the datasets has been pre-processed, they were augmented to create variations of data and also to expand the dataset. Ultimately, the final dataset were produced. Next, we started with the implementation part, whereby we developed a model, trained the model, and then tested the model. Next, we integrated the model into a web application and it is ready to be used. Finally, we documented everything in the project report. And then the documentation was done until the completion of the project. Moving on to the literature review. According to Salim and his team, several traditional machine learning algorithms have been used to perform various agriculture operations, but deep learning produced significant development in the agriculture field of research. This is due to the automatic feature extraction capability of the deep learning model. Also, in the research done by G&J in 2019, it presents a various model for the classification of diseases in the leaves, and on comparison, CNN model outperformed all other ML models used in the comparisons such as SVM, decision tree, logistic regression, etc. Therefore, it was concluded that CNN are widely used for image classification. After the selection of algorithm, which is CNN, we move on to various CNN architecture. According to the Jabir and his team, in contrast to an ANN, whose tediously prepared prerequisites may be unfeasible and some huge scope issues, a CNN can learn complex issues quite rapidly because of the weight sharing and more complex layers utilized. In the study analysis of maize leaf image classification using 7 CNN architectures, the best classification was generated by AlexNet architecture with SVM. Also, in the research done for the traffic sign classification, it made use of AlexNet for classifying 4 different categories of traffic signs for which the model accuracy generated was 93.33%. So therefore, we have selected AlexNet architecture for our model. Moving on to the selection of optimizers. According to Yadav and his team, in the journal Plant Disease Detection and Classification using CNN model with optimized activation function, the author stated that the Adam and AdamX optimizers showed better optimization compared to other functions. Also, Pujari and Pai examined RMS prop, SGD and Adam optimizers and discovered that Adam performed much better. Therefore, we concluded to use Adam optimizer for our model. Moving on to the dataset collection. Image datasets of crops were collected from the open source repository, which is Kaggle, that includes apple leaf, tomato leaf, potato leaf, maize leaf, and then the peach leaf. We then performed augmentation on the dataset in order to expand the dataset, as the dataset collected from the Kaggle was not enough. Here we have taken one sample of apple leaf and we have used Augmenter, which is a library, so it can distort, flip, zoom, rotate and share the images and make images augmented. Moving on to the dataset specification, we have considered 10 different classes to develop the classification model. Each class consists of 1200 datasets, and therefore in total we have taken 12,000 datasets. The classification model will predict the health of the crop, that is, whether the crop is diseased or healthy, and at the same time it will also classify which crop it is. Model training. Firstly, we compared between AlexNet architecture and VGG16. So on comparison, it was found that AlexNet architecture outperformed VGG16 and achieved the training accuracy of 95.44% and validation accuracy of 96.7%. And we have kept the same epoch value and batch size for both the CNN architecture. Therefore, we used AlexNet architecture to develop crop health class. Next we have is comparison between different optimizers. Through literature review, it was found that Atom Optimizer gave the best accuracy compared to the others, and in order to validate our research, we took different optimizers, kept the hyperparameters value same for these optimizers, and then trained AlexNet model. Among the 5 different optimizers, Atom achieved the highest accuracy, so we concluded to use Atom Optimizer. Up next we have the hyperparameter tuning. So, the hyperparameters that we took were batch size, epoch, and dropout. We performed hyperparameter tuning, whereby we took Atom Optimizer and considered different combination of hyperparameters, and after training model, it was concluded that Atom Optimizer with 1000 epochs, batch size 20, dropout 40% achieved the highest accuracy. Working of a system. A user will upload the image of a crop's leaf into the web application, and this request made to the system in the form of image is directed to the trained model via Flux API. Flux creates an API which is invoked whenever a request is made by the user. To the input request, the trained model will then evaluate image and produce the predicted output as either diseased or healthy crop along with crop's name. This response made by the model is displayed on the web application through API. Moving on to the web demo.
This is the web application of a crop health monitoring system. It provides service to the users in assisting them to identify the health status of their crops. To do that, they need to upload the image of the crop's leaves. So let's take an image of a healthy apple and then click on the predict button to make prediction. So it correctly predicts it as a healthy apple.
Moving on to the real-time demo.
Firstly, when we showed maize leaf to our system, it predicts it is diseased. Secondly, when we showed potato leaf, and system predicts it is healthy. And lastly, when we showed unknown leaf, that is ginger leaf, it says it cannot detect.
Finally, moving on to the future works. These are the future works. Firstly, integration of web application and real-time system. Second, preparation of additional dataset. Third, mobile app development. Fourth, detection of different types of diseases in crop and provide solutions.